So there's a lot of contrast here. There won't be as much once we start moving some of the black into the brown. There's a little bit of contrast here, and maybe even I wanted that to be a little bit darker, but we'll see how it goes. And these are all the colors that I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of this up now as quickly as I can up to this joint, and I purposely on this decoy raised the grain, and then I separated the joint of the head to the body because it helps with just kind of the antique style or the traditional style, similar to this decoy, where it almost looks like that head is a mason head or something like that that sits on the decoy. But it was actually carved all together. The head was removed. I eased the edge on the head and I put it back together. Because you might wonder, how do you get a head that perfectly fits on the body? It was because they were carved together at the same time that I took it apart and created that effect or that illusion of the head being a separate piece. I did that on that green wing teal down there too, just to kind of accentuate the head sitting, on that neck shelf. But that same thing, it was carved at the same time as it was attached when it was carved. Okay, so what I did last night was quickly put some lines on here. It's a little hard to see, but there's pencil lines on here that are kind of just establishing this quick flow of the side pockets and around underneath the rump this way. And because we're dealing with this round decoy, the question might be, well, where am I going to start and stop this white? I can abruptly stop it somewhere. It doesn't in real life go all the way underneath the decoy, but that's not the point. The point is what would look good on this piece of wood from an artistic standpoint. So I'm creating patterns that when you see this at a distance, it gives you the essence of the species, but it might be what looks good on the decoy, not necessarily what's lifelike. I didn't do something like this. I'm going to take it all the way around and just make it part of the whole design and flow and the artisticness of the decoy. And then that kind of gets echoed again with the white. Some of these shapes, if you look at it from the side, it's kind of a yin and yang shape where there's this shape and it kind of nestles into this shape, where those two things fit together like this. And if you look at the line of the black and the brown, where it follows that line, can you see that on top of this there's a shape that gets kind of wider, that the line of the paint kind of echoes the line of the back of the decoy as well. So all these shapes, this white shape on the head, see how there's a perfect kind of leftover piece between the white and the edge of the actual carved wood head. The nestling shapes inside of other shapes like that, when people see things like that, or when they see the flow of the wood carving and they see the flow of the white paint following that high point on the wood carving, and everything keeps moving and going in the same direction and things are parallel to each other, or they're approaching each other, but they're never, you don't have a line that all of a sudden runs into something or stops, because when people look at something, it doesn't make sense to them. That looks odd. Why is that not symmetrical? That's out of place. Why did that stop there? So what you're trying to do is you're doing all those things in your paint design, and people may not understand it when they first look at it, but after they look at it for a while, this is a very simple decoy, but there's a lot of that design in it, and people just like it more and more.